Good morning. I'm Dr. Dank, and this is the Dr. Dank podcast. I'm Larry Nagel, your host. How are you doing this morning, Chris?
I'm good. Larry. How you doing today?
Well, I'm feeling it, man. This whole week I spent quite a bit of time, probably 40, 45 hours in the wheel loader, bouncing around. I have spinal stenosis. I'm actually smoking CBD this morning to relieve inflammation in my body. And it's increased my mobility and my comfort level considerably. This particular strain is also high in CBG, which allows me to be basically alert without getting all sleepy-headed from the CBD. CBD, a lot of times when it relieves the inflammation in your body, it relaxes you so it makes you sleepy. And people misinterpret it. They feel it goes hand in hand when in fact it don't have to. So, what do you want to talk about today? I'm hard to trot on the super criminalization.
Well, Larry, let's start with a link that you sent me a few days ago. This talks about the New York dispensary launches, quote, illegal cannabis buyback, quote. It's a program. It's supposed to be to entice consumers to transition to legal market with
to that good medical marijuana that's radiated into the carcinogens. Yeah.
So let's talk about, give us your thoughts on what you sent me, because just explain to people what this is and what it means.
Okay. Going back 5-6 years ago, we spoke a lot at that time. That's when originally people would come, the states were coming online like California, and then, Florida followed very shortly after. Of course, British Columbia came on full board very soon, Michigan, but all these states, of course, Colorado and Oregon, but all these states, there was a definite concern by the medical marijuana license holders who had put up huge amounts of capital to be in the industry, to capitalize in the gold rush. There was a great concern that the competition was going to be so great from the black market that they would lose market share, that they would not be as successful as they had anticipated. Now, this showed itself blatantly in California and is still showing itself. California had such an extensively developed and broad network of black marketeer cannabis cultivation. Big fucking concentration labs, man. I mean, they were sending vape pens all over the country in offshoot names, high THC pens back 10 years ago, at least 8 years ago. Now, they have constantly battled. When I say they, I'm talking about the people that regulate medical marijuana, so-called medical marijuana. We all know my view on this. They have jumped through big hoops, man, and studiously studied every week on how they can maintain and control the marketplace and maintain their price fixing.
It's all about control.
It's all about control. It's all about big money, the gold rush. Okay, you don't need something that's glittery and fucking golden to be gold. Okay, this has as much potential as gold itself, if not greater. And there's only a couple questions you have to quiz your mind about this. These people, hello, how are you doing today, too? Happy Sunday morning. This is the 4th of July edition?
Yes, it is, Larry.
Well, folks, happy 4th of July, a little prematurely. But nevertheless, hopefully it will stand, this podcast will stand for independence and for our rights and freedom as individuals in this wonderful country we live in. What we have left, anyway.
Well,
now, getting back, what was the question?
The question was about the New York dispensary that still launches
buyback
program.
Now, they are, and again, I'm talking about the medical marijuana holders, license holders. They are, it's evident that what they are doing is not out of compassion. If it was, why wouldn't they be taking the large windfall profits that they've been making and putting it all back into research, clinical research on the use of cannabis and its benefits? No, man, that's not what they're doing. They're out there buying fucking Lamborghinis and Mazdas and Rollses. I mean, that's if you walk into a medical dispensary, you look around the table, the literature from the industry. I mean, you're talking about guys with MBA from Stanford bragging about how many millions they made their first year in the cannabis industry. Um, this isn't medical. This isn't compassion. This is nothing but a money making game.
It's not medical. It's financial.
It's financial. This is the reason even the testing procedures have been set up, if you want to put it bluntly, set up for failure, but set up to be manipulated and corrupted. Like I told you, you can test positive for bad things in your cannabis. And as long as you retest and you found a way to remove that substance out of your cannabis,
you're good.
You're good to go. It don't fucking matter what else you put in it.
So the buyback program, it sounds like you bring us your black market marijuana, we'll give you discounts for our medical marijuana at the dispensary. That's how it sounds.
Right. See, and what they have to do is they have to gain the confidence of the masses. They have to make the masses feel like they're giving them a lollipop. That's exactly what they're doing.
It's a distraction.
It's a distraction.
Right.
It's smoke and mirrors, same shit as Houdini. Only today it's medical marijuana at Houdini time.
So,
let's cut the girl in half.
When it's like trying to hide the elephant in the room, they're distracting you over here, but they don't want you to look over here.
Yeah, and that's been the game since they developed the. Once again, it's almost insulting to use the terminology medical marijuana. Medical marijuana, in fact, is not only medical marijuana that is strain specific to work and to benefit certain illnesses, but it is grown in a certain manner to maintain an extremely high level of cleanliness and harmlessness to your body. I think that's one of the greatest things about cannabis. Let's get the fuck away from the medical cannabis. I'm so tired of that ham bone saying they have, because that's all it is. It means absolutely nothing. Now, the big benefit to cannabis over the other drugs, they have 20 side effects for the one good thing they do, just because that's the only thing they can do, man. That's the best they can make it. No matter how hard they try, no matter how hard they refine, no matter how many times they reconfigure it, okay, it still has all these stupid side effects, which is very negative for the one good thing it does. Now, cannabis is really easy. Grow it clean, grow it properly, and it makes you well. It helps your body, mind, and soul, and you benefit from the fiber and the herd in your environment. The fuels, we can't forget, and every week I forget to talk about biofuels. We can fuel every internal combustion engine we have, along with all the jet engines, out of biofuel. Biofuel is fuels made exclusively from, hemp biofuel, exclusively from hemp, from fiber, that gasification. And the offal of that, the herd, is a premium product for everything from non-flammable building materials through animal bedding. If you let the plant go to seed, you're now producing grain, which is worthy of animal feed.
And you've talked about your friend that has the bison farm.
Yes, I did. would like to get a lot more involved in
and has
my project.
and has an amazing product because of the cannabis feed, or not cannabis, sorry, the hemp feed rather.
Once again, like so many people that are pioneers in the industry, if he was using any other substance other than cannabis, he would have already been heralded as a genius and a pioneer.
But the stigma of cannabis has prevented
The stigma of cannabis is something that we've all had to overcome. Everyone that has been tenacious and survived in this industry so far has paid their damn dues, and some of them's been pretty brutal. I guess it scars my own.
Well, let's get back to the New York story. There's a quote from Sasha Nugent, the director of retail at Housing Works Cannabis Company. Now, they're the ones that are partnering with the state.
Right. They're the ones that are setting up the program in collaboration with the state.
Right. So what they're saying is, quote, this buyback initiative is crucial not only for the health and safety of our customers, which is always our top priority, but also for the legal business operators and those who have fought hard for a place in New York's legal cannabis market.
Hooray!
So,
this is so cool, man.
So
these people finally figured out that this shit's good for you.
You just said that what they're saying is it's for the health and safety of our customers.
They're trying to make the implication that black market cannabis is contaminated. Basically, that's their whole argument, that it's contaminated, that it's in some way harmful to your body. We already know that to be total horseshit. I have done extensive testing. I've done extensive testing of both black market and licensed grown cannabis.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. A lot of times, the black market grown is superior. Okay, here's a sample container. I took this down to Vital Options, Pennsylvania Options for Wellness. Their corporate office in Harrisburg. I believe it's on Queen Street. Right across the street from Keystone State Testing Lab. And Tom Trite, heralded to be one of the great people in the industry. This is like 4 years old. Let me double check some things there. Yeah, this is 4 years old. This is a test jar of cannabis that was grown outdoors by myself under the most stringent conditions. Now, folks, that's 4 years old. Smell that, Chris. Okay, the terps on this, I believe, hit about 2.5, 2.6, the terpene values. This was over 30% cannabinoids. See the size and the quality of the nug. Compared to the little turds they give you from the dispensaries. Okay, that's because, number one, their sheer methodology and the way that they cycle the plant, the amount of runs per 12-month period that they grow, greatly and significantly reduce the quality and the effect of the medicine. That's one of the first things that we just talked about, but they try to avoid the fuck out of that because they work strictly off of the principle of diminishing returns. They keep increasing the population and shortening the growth time to try to make as many runs or turns per year as they can to get maximum yield, regardless of anything else, regardless of the quality of the buds. Okay, this is amazing. Now, okay, I took this to Trade's office, And at the time, they were having a terrible problem with some pathogen issues. And this is at the state research grow in Duncannon. And I hand delivered it to say, there you go. There's higher terpenes than probably anything you have in the house. Higher terpene values, and that's where we were doing. That's the research that I was collaborating on at the time. People that he worked with. Well, you see, I still have the jar in the test. They nicely handed it back to me and told me to be on my way, because at the same time I was telling them I could grow this for about $30 a pound outside. That absolutely scares the fucking shit out of the medical licensed producers in the state. Simple reason being, if people can realize this medicine at the right price, the price that our Creator meant it to be, realized by us.
So if
they're out of business, man. And here, okay, once again, too, we're talking about the significance of their efforts towards clinical research. Okay, I'm growing this shit that kicks their product's ass for $30 a fucking pound, and they're selling their product for $3,000 a pound.
I was just about to ask.
And they don't have $1,000 a pound, $1,500 a pound to all throw in the kitty for clinical research to find out the true medical benefits of this plant. No, man, it's bullshit. You got a couple players that play the clinical side. They control and disperse the research.
Purse strings.
Yes, the way the research is filtered to the public, so they can control the value. They've deliberately set up a network and structure so they can constantly monitor decreases in product value that might be a market runoff or could possibly crash the price across the board of cannabis. Once again, they're saying they're legalizing recreational. Now, we know that the American Medical Association, just about a dozen days ago, said that they want total decriminalization.
Yes.
In other words, this is making pot legal, folks. If there's total decriminalization, you can grow weed when you want, where you want, as long as you own the fucking property and you're not hurting your neighbor. Okay, or am I wrong about that, Chris?
No, you're right. There was an article on High Times Magazine's site talking about the AMA, the American Medical Association. June 12th of this year, they voted to decriminalize the drug. And there's a great quote from them that says, "The war on drugs is quite reminiscent of the phrase, 'The beatings will continue until morale improves.'" So,
right, back to the old philosophy: hang the motherfucker, we'll teach him a lesson.
Right. So, the other part of the quote is they're saying that, quote, "We have tried for decades to criminalize our way out of a substance use crisis in this country, and it has not worked. We need to move to something different and better, something that will actually work." So the war on drugs it's been exposed for years and years, but the fact that the AMA is now taking a step and saying, hey, this is what we're trying to do because this doesn't work.
Chris, the AMA came forth and said this back in like the 1920s or the 1930s. Okay, they were very, very vocal about saying we do not agree with the prohibition of cannabis. This is a wrong move. It has too many medical values, and we have yet to find all of them. And they were shot down. I mean, they were shot in the heart. And they never even got off the ground. Again, you can find this information in the history of cannabis, the little history tab on the main site for the podcast. Yeah.
DrDankspodcast.com.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I want to jump around here a little bit too, because I think all these topics are connected in some way. Like everything is a relative here. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about, and this goes back to your involvement here and to what's happened, and what's happening to you. I want to talk about Pennsylvania laws and penalties for cannabis. So
Fair enough.
I want to go to a website here that has some information on it. I want to read you some things and just give me your thoughts on it. Okay. So Pennsylvania laws and penalties. Okay. We're looking at possession. Okay. 30 grams or less. That's a misdemeanor. So we have the offense, the penalty, the incarceration, and the max fine. The offense is 30 grams or less. The penalty, that's a misdemeanor. Incarceration is 30 days, and the max fine is $500.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one thing people need to understand first if they've never been in the system. A misdemeanor is not a big joke. It sounds like, "Ooh, you've been a bad boy. I'm going to slap you in your fingers." No, a misdemeanor carries time a lot of the time, especially if it's a second offense. Okay? It stays on your record. It changes your insurance. I'm suffering from the dynamics of that right now based upon Schedule 1 controlled substance in my blood. Once again, I don't want to harp on this over and over, but I have 2 convictions for having a Schedule 1 controlled substance in my blood, which constitutes driving under the influence of. Now, I was found acquitted or not guilty of impairment. So how can you be under the influence of something if you're not impaired by that product? I mean, where's the logic behind this? Is there any?
No. No.
Wow, I wanted to make sure I wasn't totally wrong.
A simple answer to that is no. So getting back here, we have more than 30 grams. It's a misdemeanor, incarceration 1 year, max fine $5,000. So they're really strict on, again, this is based on Schedule 1.
Okay, now, or if you want to be in the cobwebs that I was in a state where there was a mandatory minimum of 5 to 15 years for anything in excess of 25 pounds dry weight. Needless to say, I was a little bit fucked. Now, so everybody understands, I was operating basically an illegal dispensary. Product was getting to those who needed it for their medical reasons. Okay, I had, I believe, established a great deal of significance as far as helping people that had more severe drug addictions to harder drugs like opiates, cocaine. And I produced a premium product. I used dollars of my profits or of my revenues to actually do clinical research on my very own product. Isn't that a little bit perplexing when you think about that I did that as a private
I was just about
producer?
to say, you did that. You took the steps to put the funds back into research and development, and the bigger corporations just don't.
No, they show off their $10,000-$15,000 suited executives bragging about how much money they made last quarter from their medical marijuana grow and their compassionate heart to save the world with this beautiful and wonderful plant.
Well, we just talked about the offense, the penalty, the incarceration, the max fine for possession. Let's talk about sale or distribution.
Okay.
Because the information here, I think a lot of people should familiarize themselves with and just be aware of what the current Pennsylvania laws are. Okay. Sale or distribution for cannabis. 30 grams or less for no remuneration. It's a misdemeanor, 30 days in jail, $500 fine. More than 30 grams, that's a felony. That's a big step up. 2.5 to 5 years of $15,000.
Okay,
fine.
now the super criminalization that I spoke. With the black market, you have to have distribution. Distribution is people that sells that at the lowest level historically. And this I can talk from experience, great experience. Historically, the lowest level weed dealer is buying quarter pounds and breaking them into 4 OZs, keeping 1 OZ himself, that's his net profit, and he deals the other 3. So right there, you're talking about a big time jail term, man.
Yeah.
I mean, no, this is just or spank on the finger, and that's okay. Or spank on the hand. Sorry about that. This is something else that I want to get around to talking about real quick. All across the nation, there's all different governors that are making these great concessions, and they're giving clemency and amnesty to people that have previously had cannabis crimes.
Why are they doing that, Larry?
Well, they're posturing themselves for a political year, for a campaign. If you look at the actual numbers of pounds that they're pardoning, I mean, all of fucking, what is it, New York State? Or no, Maryland.
Maryland, yeah.
Maryland's giving everybody pardons that had less than what? 2 grams?
It's very small, yeah.
So, if you take all 175,000 people, do the math on this. Take 175,000. That would be 350,000 divided by 454.
770.
Okay. 770 pounds, actually 771. Total pounds is how many was the total amount of poundage they pardoned. Maximum. Those 175,000 people they pardoned. Woo!
Doesn't seem like a lot.
No, man, fuck.
Doesn't seem like a lot.
I know guys that have like 3 grow houses, man. They got that kind of poundage sitting in stock.
They don't talk about that. They don't talk about the math behind it. They just want to have the political headline. The headline sounds great. Because when I sent you the link, I was like, Larry, check this out. They're pardoning almost 200,000 people for cannabis. And you're like, big deal.
Yeah. Here we go again, man. Here we go again. Let's do some smoke and mirrors for the people. They love it. They love you to say, look here. See the rabbit? See the rabbit? Whoop, there's the dove.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, man.
Well,
I got to do this for you. This dove is her hand sliding up your ass.
Well, we're going to talk about the pardons here in a minute, but getting back.
I'm not trying to be crude. This is just how blatant and how insulting this is.
So we talked about possession. We talked about sale or distribution. Let's talk about cultivation.
Okay. Oh my God, man! You can't compete with the big boys.
No, this number, okay.
I mean, you got college kids who went to school for 4 years and grew in their closets to learn how to become master growers. Remember, I talked about this the last episode.
The Pennsylvania Laws and Penalties for cultivation. This is the current details.
Yeah. Now, this is during a time, folks. Remember that we are legalizing cannabis, that we are reducing the penalties. Now, if you look closely at what we're discussing here, what you'll see is a intentional trend to increase the control of a few over the disposition of this product to many. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
All right. So cultivation, any number of plants, that's a felony. 2.5 to 5 years in jail and a $15,000 fine for if you get caught growing any 1 plant or 10 plants, same amount. Right? Any number of plants, it's a felony.
This is currently what before recreation becomes legal.
It's current, yes, because this is based on Schedule 1. It hasn't changed yet.
Right,
this is current.
They're still sticking with the Schedule 1 bullshit from Nancy Reagan.
Yes. And so that's cultivation. But if we add paraphernalia to this too, again, possession or sale of paraphernalia, that's a misdemeanor, 6 to 12 months in jail, and a $2,500 fine. for paraphernalia.
They were fascinated in Florida when I got busted because when they had me, the chief prosecutor said that there was nowhere in my house that you could be seated that there was not a glass piece or a smoking device within reach of. Okay.
Shocking, Larry.
I thought that was being a good host. I mean, fuck, man, I was the most popular motherfucker in the neighborhood.
So we've talked about the criminality aspect of it and the mass criminalization of it as well. So
yeah, okay.
Well, my question is, what's going to change, if anything? What changes from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 for these?
Absolutely nothing. They're moving it from one category of controlled substance to another. It'll still have the same stigma attached to it. It'll still give you a conviction of a graded misdemeanor in my case because it was in my blood, regardless of having a medical card or not, and being acquitted of any impairment. I mean, that's the trip with me. I don't praise God that he was so good to make me the poster child on this one. And of course, I was very outspoken with the trooper that morning, telling him that he had really picked the wrong guy to do this to. I know how this plant works. I know how the body has to be dosed with it to be effective. I know the truth about using marijuana medically. Not medical marijuana, but using marijuana medically. Huge difference. 180 degree difference in polarity as far as definition.
Well, we're covering a lot of aspects today, Dr. Dank, a lot of topics, a lot of current events, but getting back to the marijuana pardon.
Oh, before I miss this.
Yes.
Hold that thought.
Yes.
New York State. Let me give you a good display of how brilliant these legislators are and the people that are putting these laws in place. New York State. Now, I'm not knocking, because God love to have such liberal laws on cannabis, but I believe they allow 5-pound personal fucking stash in your home. You can transport like 3.2 ounces in your motor vehicle anywhere where you drive. Let's just go to the 5 pounds personal stash.
Right.
I was producing around $220,000 worth of flour per year.
How many pounds was that, Larry?
It was a rare time. Let's not get specific there. The IRS has already beat me enough with the whip. God love them. That being said, it was rare that I had more than 10 to 20 pounds waiting for delivery. So you're talking about, okay, New York State, you're saying they want to stop the black market. But people can grow up to 5 pounds or grow enough to have 5 pound stash sitting in their basement or sitting anywhere in their house in storage. Well, my God, man. Do you realize that if you're breaking a pound into 4 quarter pounds for 4 street level pod dealers? Okay, do the math with me. Make sure I don't fuck this up. That's 20. That's 20 different dope dealers. Is it 20 different street dealers? Okay, out of your 5 pounds. So, in a state, they're trying to stop the growing of cannabis, other than a very limited amount of plants. You're allowed to have a 5 pound inventory, because that's what it is. Now, that inventory, if the market stays at the price it is, and they manage to maintain the black market price, these wonderful, compassionate people that are running the medical marijuana industry, If they just hold the price up to $2,000 a pound, you got $10,000 worth of weed in your house, man. How many people do you think aren't going to go and flip that 10 grand worth of weed before their down payment on their new car or their new home? I mean, so it's a very double-sided sword. They're saying, God forbid, don't do this because the medical license holders don't want you to. The same way with the control. Okay, where's recreational cannabis going to be sold? Well, if the medical marijuana license holders have their way, at their medical marijuana dispensaries. Now, why enough would you possibly sell recreational at the medical dispensary? Isn't that like the difference between having to go to a pharmacy for I don't know, man. Maybe they should limit the recreational to like 15% THC. That way they could sell in the gas stations. And if you needed 30% THC, then you had to go big time and have a prescription for it to go to the drugstore. The bottom line, Chris, is there's no real simple answers for this. This, once again, I know I beat this to death, but it's just because it's the truth. This is a God-given plan. I mean, this is a substance that it appears our Creator gave us to heal. Not only heal our bodies, but to clothe and maintain our bodies with. And our livestock and other facets of our life. I mean, talk about a versatile plan. I mean, we can go on for hours about all the products that can be made from it.
Right. Let's jump back to, because I wanted to talk a little bit about getting back and kind of expand a little bit on the marijuana pardons and expungements. Okay, these are some numbers here. Okay, state by state. All right, so we have state level pardons. June of 2018, the Nevada governor issued blanket pardons to an estimated 15,000 people previously convicted of offenses involving possession of up to 1 ounce of cannabis.
Okay, 15,000 people, 15,000 ounces, divided by 16. What's that come to?
Let me do the math here.
15,000 divided by 16. Okay, pardon 900 pounds.
Yes.
Woohoo!
There we go again, Larry. Dr. Dank. Math doesn't.
When I was 11 years old, I participated in a grow in Florida. We had 1,000 acres under weed. Okay? In 1972. That's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
In the scope of everything. I mean, and we had some fucked up, excuse me, Lord. We had some skewed numbers weeks ago. But wasn't it something like hundreds of billions of dollars this revenue comes from this sale of this plant worldwide or nationwide?
Just Pennsylvania alone from 2023 was $1.6 to $2 billion in medical. Not counting non-medical, just medical.
You know, think about that. There was twice as much black market weed being sold because, hell, half of the vets and anybody that's concerned about their gun rights are scared to death about having a medical card.
But you can't own a gun and have a medical marijuana card.
Okay. I believe if you really push the envelope, you can not only own a gun, but you can actually have a carry permit. But you have to claim everything openly. And God forbid if you actually do pull the son of a bitch, you'll be in a rage of madness. Your third eye and your forehead that comes in, Shiva, the great god of cannabis from the Hindu faith. Yes, had the third eye. By the way, the third eye is a reference to the insight, the cannabis, and the perception that he gives you.
Right.
And if you want to research something that's really cool sometimes, go online and look up Shiva. He was the god of cannabis. He sat upon Mount Kailash in Himalayas and smoked on a giant chalice or a giant bowl, and constantly consumed cannabis. Okay, discerning and troubling, and almost like governing the world beneath him. Uh, One of the oldest references to some kind of a cosmic character being in some way involved with our creation and and having bizarre habits. I mean, if you want to call cannabis bizarre.
We have there are several other states, but they're all. It seems like they're all following the same structure of pardoning very very low level.
It's political posturing. It's an election year. It's, hey man, look what we're doing for you, kids. Okay, we're partying everybody. Again, it's smoke and mirrors. It's using one example to. It's using an actual example that has very little significance and trying to tout it as something major and outstanding and groundbreaking.
October of 2022, Pennsylvania's governor announced that the Board of Pardons would begin accepting applications for those seeking to have their marijuana possession convictions expunged. Over 200 Pennsylvanians eventually received pardons under the program. The governor, again in 2022, the governor separately issued another 400 estimated pardons to those with marijuana-related convictions. These are low-level, small amounts, non-violent crimes.
Yeah, I don't ever know of. I mean, unless it was over a deal that went bad over a lot of poundage, I don't ever remember a violent marijuana crime.
It's the headlines are what sticks out because when I do the research for the podcast, I find the headlines and then I talk about it with you.
Right.
So the headlines are what stands out because if someone just reads the headlines, they're not going to go, "Oh, I wonder what else this means. What aren't they telling me?" They're just seeing the headline. That's it.
Right.
So it looks like a great thing. Like, oh, they're going to pardon all these thousands of people. It looks great,
right,
on paper.
And if you look, it's almost always a blue state thing, or it's. And I don't want to bring politics into this podcast, but one of the two parties in particular has a way of manipulating people's thoughts, public opinion, using very small little dog treats and blowing them out of proportion. So, go ahead. Like I said, I don't want to bring politics in.
Well, again, it just talks about. I just want to talk about the headlines because
Any more than it already is.
once you get past the headlines, because it never occurred to me that this wasn't a good thing. All I saw was the headline, and your interpretation was big deal, And then
That's because I'm so used to these little cracker trails they give, these little bread trails.
and then we started
They'll
talking
lead you
about
down the rabbit hole.
We started talking about it, and it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're not telling you the ins and outs, the truth behind it.
No, man. It's a bread trail. It's get you to follow.
So there's going to be more of these states come out with pardons again, follow the same structure, low level pardons. If you were to add up all the weight that they're going to be pardoning for, it's not a lot.
No, and what you're going to see is the closer to election, you're going to hear rhetoric like, we won't say either party, but there'll be certain politicians saying, do you realize over the last 6 months, we have pardoned over 3 million people nationwide for cannabis? And maybe they pardon 3,000 pounds. That's the sad part of it. It's manipulation. It's been media manipulation and propaganda. Simply what it is.
So, Dr. Dank, I'd like to talk about something that you had brought up on a previous podcast. the headline is Ganja has been linked to COVID improvements. Now, what I want to talk about, there's an article on marijuanamoment.net where it talks about how cannabis holds potential to prevent and reduce severity of COVID-19 while treating long-term symptoms. Let's talk about several things with this. One, I had COVID 2 years ago.
Okay.
When I had COVID, and I watched the news, I was bombarded with COVID this, COVID that. Everything was surrounded by COVID.
And never once.
At no time do I ever remember hearing word one about cannabis doing anything for COVID. Never came up in a conversation, never made the news, it never existed. But apparently it did exist, and no one knew about it.
Word was out very early. Was it 2019? Like by February, word came from British Columbia that clinical researchers, and I believe even the University of Oregon, had seen a connection between cannabis blocking or creating or blocking a protein, whatever it was, that allowed the uptake of COVID into your immune system, or through your immune system, into your body. Immediately censored. They couldn't have stepped on it faster, man. Now, not only did I jump on top of it, but as soon as I started, I mean, and I have a fear, I had a definite fear of COVID because, my age, I haven't trained, I haven't done cardiovascular exercises the way I used to at all. Fuck, man, compared to what I used to do, I'm a real, slug. So I'm thinking about, this could wind up as being a grim scenario. I think a lot of us was worried when we first heard of the threats of COVID. When I started to become congested, thinking about what I read from Canada, and also referencing and this again, I constantly kid around that I've been my own poster child, and I've done my own clinical research on my own body, so I know the actual factual results and resolve of. And my whole life, every time that I had a lot of chest congestion, the finest expectorant, right up there with the codeine, was cannabis. And if you could get hash oils, it was really effective. Hash oils will make you instantly expel whatever's blocking your respiratory system. And so we got a big kick out of the neighbor downstairs during a period where I was running temperatures due to the other factors in the other parts of the illness. My respiratory system was staying open. And mostly because I was smoking cannabis. I was using what do you call it, where you can put silver nitrate, and it's an inhaler.
Okay.
I was using an inhaler that used silver nitrate excuse me, not silver nitrate, colloidal silver, and this also helped me cleanse and expel the heavy phlegm that was hampering my breathing. Now this got me through COVID with only, I think there was one night that I actually had to go on oxygen, and I had it bad, man. So with that being said, there was a lot of substance to it. But again, Big Pharma, every time there is something that can be remedied or cured with cannabis, Big Pharma shits herself because they don't have a handle or control over it. Now they have partial control through these large, very wealthy concerns that had the capital to initially get licensing. For the longest time, the word on the street was not how to make your grow the best grow in the country, but for a lot of these people, it was strictly a matter of get the grow established, up and running, turning big dollars, and then flipping it for a big profit. When they flipped these companies, they flipped it to companies owned by Big Pharma. So Big Pharma just bought their fucking way right back into control of the substance. I mean, this is a diabolical plan, man. This is, talk about conspiracy.
Let's go back to you credit cannabis with helping you get through and survive COVID.
Yes.
So, in your opinion, what would have happened if the story, when it first came out, was not buried? If the story got out, it was picked up by the mainstream media, what would have happened?
We would have never had the hysteria bullshit that we did. I mean, come on, man. They took what was a severe influenza and they created a worldwide epidemic and nightmare. We have children that are 3-4 years behind than their predecessors at the same grade level just because of what they've missed due to this nonsense over COVID. The masks, which some people still wear. You know, I don't think anything is more comical than seeing somebody, especially in a large metropolitan area, drive up down the street in their Benz or their Beamer with a fucking mask on inside their car. Whoa! Paranoia?
Well, getting back to Big Pharma here, what would happen? What would
My opinion on masks?
Yeah.
That's like wearing a diaper on your face.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, in your opinion, what would happen if Big Pharma took complete control of the cannabis industry?
You're going to have lifelong price fixing. You're going to have a very slow dissemination of truth because the immediate truth does not benefit them from a monetary standpoint. The immediate truth will crash the industry. And unfortunately, it seems to be that's the uphill battle that I've been fighting. It isn't just in the last year that I've been running around saying how cheap this plant can be grown. And, you know, the other thing you have to realize about me, Chris, is that I've done everything I say I have done. I have proven myself conclusively. I have pictures, you know, in something, I got the t-shirts. But no, the numbers on the plant propagation, the numbers on poundage I've grown, and the certificates of analysis on my product. I mean, what was on one of the podcasts, we show a letter from Russ Krupnitsky from Russell Greenland from Keystone State Testing to Paul Moore-Cresco, for God's sakes, saying basically that I'm probably the finest grower they've ever encountered. And that's one of the most prominent state certified medical marijuana testing labs there is. Plus, they also have locations, I believe, in at this point probably another 10, 11 states. The lab they have in New York City, I'm the one that supplied the diploma for the operator.
Do you think that Big Pharma could eventually do that? Could they have
They're already doing it. They're already doing it.
Complete control.
if they can lobby and create a scenario where the recreational cannabis can only be marketed through their distribution points, they've already done it. It's already a done deal. Because then why would recreational be recreational? It's like you have medical Vicks, you have recreational Vicks, but you can only buy the recreational Vicks at the medical Vicks store. Then what's the difference between the Vicks? See, I mean,
Name only, right?
they market bullshit to the ninth degree, man. They really do. Now, in coming weeks, we are going to talk more about green fuel, renewable natural gas, sustainable aircraft fuel, biogas, biodiesel, fueling our internal combustion and jet engines with the annual growth of our hemp fields. It can be done quite effectively and has a net negative carbon footprint on our environment. Basically, clean our environment at the same time we're fueling our vehicles. Stephen Thantz from Cultivate Hemp Solutions down in Georgia is going to be joining us in about 2 weeks to make a major announcement, which we find to be almost historic in this industry, which can utilize vast acreages, hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland into very, very profitable production of industrial hemp. When I say profitable, I'm talking about profitable to the farmer. The guy that owns the land, owns the tractors, does all the fucking work. That guy. Not just the middleman that's brokering it. And see, that's the trouble. I'm not going to waste a whole long time dwelling on this. It can be your own private research. But one of the reasons Big Pharma and these large corporate organizations is such a threat to this is because they're the ones that make the money out of the middle. The people that do the work, the people that believe in the cause, the people that have sacrificed their life and showed great tenacity to be successful at raising and cultivating this plant, they get caught with a stem, pretty much a bare stem, and all the flowers been picked off of it, and all the goods been taken from it. And anything else you'd like to talk about this 4th of July?
Well, I hope everybody has a safe 4th of July week, 4th of July night. Enjoy the fireworks. Do some research on cannabis. Listen to Dr. Dank.
Smoke lots of weed before you sit down and watch the fireworks. Thank you for my producer, Chris, a.k.a. Ganja guy. And good news, and I don't want to forget this part. We do have a number of applicants for the Ganja position. Right now, we're interviewing or starting an interviewing procedure. I would like to find a young lady that has a capability of delving past my interview skills and improving the hosting of this show, especially when it comes down to interviewing industry guests. What's one of the reasons we've held off from having outside guests in the podcast. It's not like I don't have a ton of shit to talk about to begin with. But whoever it is is going to be complement the podcast. Hopefully to be showing up here in the next 2 or 3 podcasts as an active participant. Now, I think it's time we turn to a word from our sponsors, and you have a blessed week. Jah love.
This week's episode sponsored by the Cannabis College of America. This week's episode sponsored by Buds and Brew Superstore.